Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, another reptile video. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Lots of content for reptiles and amphibians on the channel, usually once a week, if not more. So subscribe, helps me out and it'll help you out no end. Getting to see and keep up to date with how the reptile side of this channel is going on and getting on. Bit of an update for you, it's 2023. It's spring, it's when snakes are being paired and when some of the snakes that were paired in the autumn are actually about to lay their eggs. For me, that's something, could be false water cobras, black-headed pythons, crebos. On this channel, it's always warts and all. I'm not someone that shows all the very best of what happens to me and what I get right, in a way to kind of profess that I'm really good at what I do. I just love what I do and I try really hard to do the best at it as I possibly can. But on this channel, I think one way to help other people learn is actually to show you the mistakes you make. If I can make a mistake and get over it, it saves you making that mistake yourself, doesn't it? Learn from my mistakes. So the snakes that I really wanted to breed this year are my black-headed pythons, because I've only bred them once. I want to see if I get more success on the hatching. We did have success last year, but not as much as I'd liked. And the yellowtail crebos, because it's just a massive call for them in the UK and they're stunningly beautiful. We'll come to those in a second. But yeah, suffice to say, the two species that I really wanted to breed, I've failed on both counts. Not good. I'll show you a bit more. Hold on. So this big old girl here, black-headed python, what a stunning species of snake. Not many around in the UK really. And something, it's a great sort of python. Averaging around 8 feet, a little bit more for the females like this one. They're just absolutely glorious. Bred them the first time I tried last year, really pleased. This year when we paired them in the autumn, went through proper calling procedures and so on and so forth, just like the previous year. The male was really showing lots of courting and breeding behaviour. I never saw them tied together, but then I never did before. Looked great, all went to plan. Female looked like she was gravid, I think she'd just eaten too much. Went through the shed cycle, no eggs laid, definitely no eggs in her. What an absolutely gutting experience, because last year some of those eggs contained albino black-headed pythons, and this year, with the help from an Australian friend, we were really going to try and hatch those difficult to hatch albinos, but no eggs, no babies. So really beautiful as babies. Last year's babies are doing fantastically well. They look great, and I say they don't grow. They're a stocky python. They're not really stocky. They get a bit stocky in captivity. They're probably not really as skinny as a retic, but yeah, in the wild they're quite a slim python. Everything we tend to keep in captivity gets a little bit porkier than in the wild generally. Easier life. But yeah, beautiful snake. Not even any eggs, and now we've got to wait a whole year before we try again, which is kind of the gutting thing. There's quite a bit of time involved with any of this. Just getting some of these animals to breeding size and age takes years. Show you some more bad news. So that is a infertile egg from the yellowtail crebo, and she's just dumped it in the vivarium. Now the last 2 years she's just laid her eggs properly in a lay box, laid clutches of eggs. Last year they were all infertile. The year before they were all fertile. So I don't know what she's playing at this year, but it isn't uncommon for snakes to sort of drop an infertile egg here and there around their enclosure before they get on and lay their main clutch. So fingers crossed, but we'll just see, I think. So there we are. There's the resulting clutch of eggs, and every single one of those eggs is an infertile egg. No good for nothing apart from feeding your monitor lizard if you've got one. So a real shame and really disappointing. Such a beautiful species as the yellowtail crebo. So many people want to keep them in the UK. They still come in as wild caught some of the time, but so much better if you can produce well-adjusted, parasite-free, really healthy young captive bred animals. It's a completely different animal, much better for the animals and much better for the hobbyists. So there's a lot of people there now that can't have one of these yellowtail crebos this year. She bred for 2 years, perfectly fine pairing. 3rd year, which was last year, all infertile. This year we switched up the whole pre-breeding season to really get them in the mood, just to see if that was a problem. And here we are again. So is it the female not good for purpose? Is it the female thinking 2 years on the trot was enough? But obviously we don't make them breed. These are kept together all year round. I wanted to see if we could breed them this year, to see if we could get over the problem from last year, and 2 years running. So they're back together now, husband and wife, if you like, but they're going to actually be split up now at the end of this summer before the autumn breeding season, and we're going to really see if a year off makes any difference. And also I've got a younger female that in another year will be 4 years old. She'll be paired to the same male, and at least we can see where the problem lies and what's causing a problem. But masses of disappointment, and you know, I'll be honest, financial implications as well. These represent potentially a minimum of £750 each. Now if you add all that up as viable youngsters, then that's an awful lot of money to re-inject back into the snake keeping here, the reptile keeping, for other rare and unusual species that I'd like to buy and try, that I certainly can't afford to buy from my waste packet. Breeding snakes that are rare and unusual actually gives you a way of buying other captive bred snakes that are rare and unusual that you may want to work with. So there is a, you know, there is a financial costing as well. But there we go. Not good on the yellowtail crebo front. So quite interesting. I'll put these guys back together. It's spring in the UK. These are often paired up in the autumn, and they lay their eggs in the spring. But the male's been separated out, and it is spring. She's laid her eggs. She's not in the mood for anything, but he's actually really courting her, and it's actually the first time I've ever seen him courting her. He's stopped now because I'm here. All over her, loads of body twitching, proper courting, breeding behaviour from the male. So I think next time we pair them, we're going to separate these out. I'm going to pair them in the spring. They are tropical after all. I think we can condition them once the weather warms up. We get some stormy weather in the spring. To see him doing what he's been doing, it is actually the only time I've ever seen them going into breeding mode. So I might switch it up and try something different in the future, really. Annoyingly, he's stopped twitching now because he can see me standing here. So there you go. Don't get disheartened. It is all trial and error. Keeping these animals, especially more unusual stuff that there's not as much information out there about, and the more difficult stuff. Some of my snakes, Pueblo milk snakes, easiest things to breed in the world, and a great start into the interest of snake breeding. Some of the other stuff, a lot more finicky. It needs a lot more conditioning, things to be right to have that success. Don't let lack of success put you off. Just see it as an inspiration to move on and try harder and switch it up and try more things. Subscribe. See you in the next one.